What is up, everybody? It is Thursday night. Thursday night means one thing. It is Doc Talk time here at Jackson Kayak. We're a little bit early tonight, but we got a very special guest from Delaware Paddlesports on site. Let's kick this thing off. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new episode of Jackson Kayak Doc Talk. We have got a new guest tonight. Yep, back-to-back single guest. We missed last week. That is my fault. I had the birth of my new grandson, so we took a quick beat, and we're making it up tonight, making it up with Mr. Matt Trucks, who was gracious enough to award me that Thursday off. I appreciate that, Matt. It's a pretty good day for me on last Thursday, so but yeah, coming to us live from none other than world-renowned Delaware Paddlesports, man.
Yeah, we're live here on site. It's pretty cool to the owners let me set up in here and come to you live from Delaware Paddlesports. And yeah, man, this is gonna be an awesome show.
Oh man, I've been looking forward to this one. You're a man after my own heart. So to give you well, I'm gonna let you tell everybody. So the way we start off Doc Talk, Matt, tell everybody where you hail from, and most of all, what are you paddling out there on the water?
Well, I'm coming straight to you from southern Delaware. That's, if you guys don't know the geography, south of the capital city Dover and north of Ocean City, Maryland. Located right on the Atlantic Ocean and the Indian River Bay and Rehoboth Bay. It's a great area for fishing. And so Delaware Paddlesports is my home shop. And, I've kind of made it at home with these guys and, just bringing the kayaks to you. And right now I'm paddling 2 kayaks, and that would be the Jackson Kayak U-Pick. And when I want a lighter kayak, I go with the Bite Angler. These are really great platforms for what I do, both fishing and photography. Very stable platforms, and just great paddling boats. And fortunately, I invested in a Torpedo years ago, and that helps with all those situations.
I can guarantee it. Makes it a little faster to get back when the tide catches up with you, don't it?
Absolutely. Yep.
And the U-Pick flies, man. It's a great inshore boat, really. I mean, as far as everything that I've ever witnessed from yourself, Dustin Nichols, and some of the others, I mean, it's really U-Pick's really found its home kind of in that genre, it seems.
Yeah, the U-Pick, I mean, it's even great offshore. I use it about 2 to 3 miles offshore, when the weather's right. It takes a good shot, it's just really stable. It's a great boat for all those sort of occasions. Even if it gets a little gnarly out there, it can take it. Absolutely.
Right on. That's what we like to hear. Now, Delaware Paddle Sports, you guys do a lot of stuff. You do a lot of rigging at Delaware Paddle Sports, no?
Absolutely, yeah. Over here at Delaware Paddlesports, we have knowledgeable and excellent staff on staff. Open 7 days a week. You can give us a call. We'll help you out over the phone if we can. If you're local or you feel like taking a drive, you can always bring your boat in. We'll definitely help you out with any kind of needs with rigging, and even helping get your fish finder working.
Yeah, that's a big thing anymore. Like, what all kinds of accessories and stuff are you guys carrying in the shops? Obviously, we know you guys have got Jackson Kayak among other brands, but as far as accessories go, like if somebody's wanting to come in and get rigged up, what do you guys have kind of there in store at Delaware that you can throw on somebody's boat tonight if they want it?
Yeah, sure. So we carry all of the accessories from Yak Attack. We have a whole wall of just Yak Attack. We have Yak Gear products. We have Burley Pro products. We have Boondocks. Pretty much anything you can think of to rig your boat up. We also carry, the lines of all of the manufacturers of kayaks that we sell to. Their accessories that they make specifically for their boats.
And that's one of the cool things about, excuse me, about Delaware Paddlesports. One of the things that I see online as I'm perusing through on a day-to-day basis, they hand deliver all their boats themselves up to a certain distance, from my understanding. And it's like they'll throw up the map, and it's like we're going here, here, and here, and here, and they put like a little star on there, maybe the brand of boat that you bought, some of the different things, which is very cool that you guys do that out there.
Yeah, they like to call it white glove delivery. It's not getting loaded on a big 18-wheeler and shipped to your house, flying around in the back or anything. It's loaded on our Chevy pickup truck and dropped off by one of our employees, or the owners even do it. It's pretty much everybody's involved with it. And the nice thing about that is, you can get the kayak delivered straight to your house. And I believe we go with 4 to 5 hours of the shop, sometimes more. I know we've been doing some deliveries out in Ohio, up as far as Vermont, and then down as far south as North Carolina. So, we're getting pretty far on the expanse of delivery there. But the nice thing about it is, you have that hands-on with the whoever delivers the boat. They can run you through everything, when they get there, especially if you have installs. They can show you how everything works, just go over everything.
Yeah, and that's something that you're not going to get from Yellow Freight or anything like that if you have something delivered. So that's really cool, and it goes. I mean, it's a very unique and special thing for anybody that's online shopping. Definitely check out Delaware Paddle Sports, because I think it'd be they're one of our great dealers, that do the shipping. They just happen to be the ones that take care of it themselves, and it's a really neat experience. And your boat's going to be in good shape when you get it. I think that's the biggest thing.
Absolutely. And then, the other things about Delaware Paddle Sports, since it's, we do offer 0 interest financing on all of our kayak brands. And the other nice thing about it is Delaware is a tax-free state, so you save on all that sales tax.
Oh, nice. Yeah, sales tax eats you up on a big purchase like a kayak. So just getting out of that alone, that's worth ordering from Delaware Paddle Sports altogether.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. And it was cool. You guys joined us on one of our last boat launches. I think it was the big rig. We all had the Bells Brewery and all that fun stuff. And that was a cool launch. It was good to see and bounce across all the different dealers. I can't wait till we can do that again one of these days and get you guys all in the parking lot, and that'll be fun.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, that was the big rig and the new cruise.
Yeah, it was neat to see it just bounce around shop to shop to shop to shop and hear all the dealers and all the input and see all the people on the floors. That was a neat and different way to launch. I'm glad we did it that way. It was kind of improv, but it flew great, and it worked phenomenal for what we was doing. But the big reason you're here tonight is we share a common love, and that is the photography. Absolutely awesome landscape photographer you are. I'm going to shower you with compliments on that. You've won several awards, and among other things, and for some of your work. Um, let's start at the basic. Um, Talk to us a little bit about your setup, what you use day in, day out when you're out there taking pictures.
Yeah, sure. So, as you all know, basically a majority of my photography is taken from the kayak. And the big thing about the kayak is it affords you a different zone, or like places people can't get to from land. You can set up landscape shots from basically the center of a pond or out in the ocean. You have much more expanse of areas and zones that you can go to. It's just not, because it seems like a lot of photographers kind of go to the same places that, but
Mhm.
you can get that different angle on those landmarks, or, you can get that shot like right up the river, whereas from
Right.
land, it's not going to be the same perspective at all. It affords you just so much a wider variety of composition and laying out your shots. So typically, I'll use a very wide lens for landscape photography, and I typically use a 15 to 35 millimeter uh,
Mhm.
wide angle lens. That's what I got here. This is the Canon 15 to 35. I shoot Canon. It's really great glass. It's an f2.8, so it's pretty fast. So this can
Mhm.
actually be used for night photography, low light, that sort of thing too. Uh, and as you know, being on the kayak, to get that pre-dawn, like, just before the sun comes up, and the amazing clouds, and and the hues, having that fast lens really helps out with those situations.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's amazing some of the low light stability that these cameras, a lot of these newer cameras have now. It's mind blowing how far you can open up your shutter and how far you can open up your f-stop, and just 1.2 on a lot of them. And then you've got, obviously, you can run the ISO up higher and add the fake light in more than what you ever could, which is truly amazing. And it really goes a long way with some of these low light condition photos.
Absolutely, yeah. And I actually shoot with the Canon EOS R5. It's a professional
Mhm.
grade camera, um, and it does really well in low light and at high ISOs with reduced noise, image
Mhm.
noise at that low light perspective and all. So it's just
Yeah, and
it's tough
that's
bringing
a
a camera of that magnitude on the kayak, but it's well worth it.
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that particular model of camera is well renowned, not just by photographers, but across a lot of the YouTube community as well. I mean, it's still pretty much a staple today, as it was, when it first launched.
Absolutely, yeah, yep.
Mm.
And like you
It's
said,
been
it's
it,
nice because it has that 5-axis stabilization in it. So even with the
mhm,
kayak, as you're moving all the time, you can really, with an autofocus and the image stabilization on with a lens that has that feature, it really
mhm.
helps. And it keeps you shooting those crisp photos. Pretty much. You can't shake too much, but obviously it helps.
Yeah, the stabilization, or Sony calls it IBIS, goes a long, long way. It truly makes everything way better. We was talking about Tamron lenses, and some of those earlier Tamrons don't have that image stabilization like the G Master or the Canon lenses have, and man, that image stabilization goes a long way. Um, Now, what came first? Did fishing come first, or did photography come first? How did those two things kind of like marry into each other to become one thing?
Oh, fishing came first. I mean, I've been fishing since I was a little kid. But the photography kind of melded together with just shooting videos back in the day for Jackson Kayak. Just kind of,
Mhm.
well, it might be cool to have a still image, here and there, or just being out there on the water and just feeling the natural beauty of everything, and just wanting to be able to capture that as you see it. And so I'd say definitely fishing was first, but as I got into the kayak fishing and that sort of thing, it definitely brought the photography out more than I ever had. So yeah, it just goes hand in hand. When the fishing's slow, break out the camera.
Yeah. Yeah, that happens quite often, I think, for a lot of us. It's kayak fishing is kind of funny in that regard. I think, like, a lot of us have kind of picked up a camera because of kayak fishing. I know I have, as well as you, but are you ever like impressed when you think about like guys like yourself, Chris Funk, and some of the others, like just how these two things have kind of morphed, and there's almost a connected group of people just through that.
Oh yeah, I mean it's its own passion, the photography side, and it just brings people together that like to do that sort of thing. Anybody can do it. Just get into it. It's for me, it's really become a passion. Sometimes more than fishing. They got to be honest with
Yeah, I can definitely see that on my end too. It creeps up, and you're always it's just like fishing in a lot of ways because you're always trying to push it just a little bit further. Like you'll find yourself, well, what if I try this? What if I try that? And you kind of push yourself in that craft just as much as you do the fishing.
Oh, absolutely. And then especially as you take photos, the more you learn. The more you
Mhm.
learn to kind of tone in your settings and understand. Well, you know, especially being digital, it's not like the film days. You could see what you're taking a picture of, and the camera I run is mirrorless, so you can actually see through the viewfinder basically what your picture is going to look like at the end product, which is a big
Oh.
help.
Yeah, you can, and I think, with the settings, if somebody's learning, like if they're shooting auto, take a look at those settings. Like, take your picture, look at the settings, and think about what that camera's doing. And then as you kind of keep learning, you're going to see how that camera is adjusting for this time of day or the night or whatever it has to be. But so aside from like kayaking and your photography, like I've seen a lot of the landscapes and the different things. I mean, those are what a lot of your awards are. Um, how much like do you get off the beaten path that maybe we don't see online or see through your page that you just go out on a random night and shoot in the streets and do the different things like that, or do you pretty much stick to outdoor photography?
Yeah, I stick to totally outdoor photography, and I try to keep it as much in nature as possible. Yeah, I feel nature is just beautiful, and it needs to be captured in a way that kind of expresses um, how it feels to me. And the whole idea is, it kind of comes from the heart. So to let others understand how it is, like just hiking in the woods, most people are probably like, that's kind of boring. But to me,
Hmm.
the natural aspect and that side of it is just amazing. So off the kayak is pretty cool too, because, you can go around and find like you can get into like the macro side of photography and just kind of find like the smallest flower and then take a picture of it because you've never seen it before. And then, just kind of look it up on Google and be like, wow, that's an endangered species, that sort of thing. It's kind of a challenge, actually.
Yeah, macro is I the only thing I've got into with macro is probably nuts and bolts. I've never actually had the opportunity or never taken the opportunity to really get up close to different plants and different kinds of things like catch a bug or any of that. Um, but I think it, has definitely a neat feel. And, there's some of these things that you can really get up close to as well as far away from. And there's so much to photo, and it's really the art is subjective. I mean, wouldn't you say as far as you have to love it first, but it really doesn't matter if 10 people love it or one person loves it. I think as long as you love it yourself, then it finds a happy place within you.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's for me, I'm not even trying to be a professional at it. It's just a hobby. It's just
Hmm.
becomes something that you love to do and you enjoy. I mean, I'm not the kind of person that's going to take like 20 photos and share them all online. I'm just going to like
Hmm.
pick one or two a week, maybe, or three a week, on a separate days that if I got out that week, everybody's got to work. So, but,
Oh yeah.
yeah, so, and then just like, because I feel that those express the day that I was out taking some photos more than, all the other ones. And I can't even say that I take a lot of photos when I'm out during the day. I try for one kind of perspective on things, and then I try to switch it up to kind of see how it is from the other side, just to understand like, oh, maybe the light's coming from this side, but why not shoot right behind the light, or, just to get different shadows and, different perspectives of the distance,
Yeah. And like one of the things that I find that I really like about your photos is the dynamic that you get out of the clouds. I mean, there's a lot of times I don't want to say they have anger, but they're there. The clouds and the sky is very present in your landscape photos, and that is one of the things that I really like. And I kind of went down that path a little bit, like when I would have the GoPro. Like I always over my head, I would always try to pull the clouds out so it kind of added something to that photo, so it just wasn't like a dead space at the top of it or whatever. When we was back in the day doing the photo grabs and all that junk, but it's neat how you do that. Like, how much time do you spend typically editing each photo, or do you edit at all?
So the editing process, because I'm going to give you a little secret here. So with my camera, in camera, I shoot what they call an HDR, high dynamic ratio. So basically,
Mhm.
it's a bracketed shot. So it gives you your first shot will be your camera settings, where you're at. The second shot will be a um, a darker image. So either depends on how you have your camera set up to bracket, but it'll shoot a lower EV. So basically, it'll be a darker photo, and then the third shot will shoot a higher EV. So it'll either be a longer exposure or a more ISO, whichever
Uh-huh.
one you pick. So now, when you take that into your editing software, you take those three bracketed photos and you merge them into one. So basically, it overlays each photo. Now, you can't, the problem with this is on the kayak, you can't be moving at all. You can't be shifting off or to the left or to the right. It's got to be a straight shot, or else it's going to look kind of weird when you overlay those photos. But once
Mhm.
you overlay them, it gives you way more depth. It gives you, uh, what I want to say, it lets you control the contrast
Dynamic range.
and the exposure, and just it gives you so much more on those dials that you can actually understand the depth of the photo and bring it out.
Hmm.
I mean, the human eye does this automatically. So, but with a one shot on the camera, you're not going to get all that depth because you're not getting the highs and the low tones of the light.
Hmm. Yeah, and you see that a lot with the dudes that shoot a lot of night portraits. There's usually two or three photos that merge into one to make, the stars in the sky, whatever's in the foreground, and to bring that foreground out, they'll spend a lot of time with that. And then there's the dark
Right.
background, and then there's the sky. So it
Well,
kind
that's
of,
actually photo stacking. That's a different
yeah,
process. Yeah.
similar in speech. Excuse me.
Right.
But, but yeah. So let's see, where was I going? See, this is what happens on Doc Talk when you do the live show, because you're like finding the grooves and you cough and then you lose it. It's
Now
all
you were
part of the
there,
fun of
so
live.
the photo stacking just brings out more light, more depth. Out of every picture you take. So a majority of my landscapes, I shoot HDR. Not at night, obviously, because you're going to get a black image. You're going to get
Oh.
an image that's, unless you have a tripod, or it's going to be blurry because you're going to move. There's just no way you can hold the camera that still. So, but for landscapes during the day, early morning, um, really early morning, you definitely need a tripod. You have to hold that camera as still as possible, or else the HDR will never merge correctly because it's not all in one frame,
Mhm.
perfectly. It can't shift.
Yeah. How do you keep, because I mean, it seems like, I know, dude, when I'm kayaking, the wind is always freaking present. How do you keep yourself centered? Are you power pulling down, running anchor? What do you do to like really lock in when you want to shoot something like that?
Well, that's where the torpedo comes in. And with the foot control steering, you can really get in that groove once you understand it, and it'll hold up to the tide and the current and the wind, if you just get in that perfect groove, just to hold yourself still for that split second that it takes to take that bracketed shot, it's like, and then you're good.
Yeah.
You can let it go.
Yeah, that's one of the amazing things I think I've seen Jeff Little do in some of his videos is like really use that foot steering to, like a lot of guys like that bow mount trolling motor to spot lock or whatever. But
Right.
when you watch Jeff do some of his fishing videos and how he's constantly pumping and working those foot pedals to like really stay in a spot, it's really amazing.
Yeah, back when I was paddling, it was impossible to take bracketed shots. But back then you didn't really have the camera technology where you could do that as easily as you can now. So that really helps. And like I said, we went over the image stabilization and all that. That really helps. But paddling, you're going to have to, anchor up or, use a park and pole or some sort of thing like that just to kind of keep yourself still. But the issue with that is then you can't really line yourself up where you want to take that shot. And you're just kind of dependent on how the wind pushes you.
Yeah. Tanner Spiel's got you sharing a little love to you about the rigging tutorials back in the day. Says thanks a lot, and loves all the wicked photos.
Thanks, Tanner, man. Yeah, that goes back to the Plastic Hull, man. I started that website back in 2013, just to help out everybody. It's a free website, I just did it all for the community. Yeah, I just put all my knowledge right into that site. I got to get back to doing that. It's been a while.
Yeah, Rudy says, "What's up?"
Cool.
Love foot steering makes it a lot more manageable. I have yet to get a motor. Actually, I'm probably like becoming that last holdout. I'm not like getting to be that grouchy old man. It's not that I haven't thought about it. I've thought about it a lot. It's gonna happen. Just ain't done it yet.
Yeah, for me, man, I was just never into the pedals. I was never into
Right.
the. It was just too much stuff in front of me, and it just wasn't really kind of up my alley. So it just kind of never went that direction. I started with Torqeedo back in 2014. That's when I bought my first motor. And I just never went back. I went straight from paddling hardcore, like 6 to 8 miles a day. Just 3 miles to the fishing spot and then 3 miles back. Just to being like, all right, well, we're getting bigger kayaks now. I got the original big rig, and I was just like, I love this boat. I love the stability of it, but I don't like paddling in the wind and the tide back.
No. Yeah, that old thing, man. I can remember like it really, especially like if you come from a different brand, then you got in a big rig. It was like, I think this thing glides. You was like kind of okay with it, but
Oh,
then
sure,
like
yeah.
you met that wind head on that one fine day, and it was like almost like you could feel the boat go and just kind of like hold up. Those
Well,
were
then
some
you're
tough
used to
days
a CUDA
paddling.
14 back in the day,
Yeah,
just
I
something
mean,
slick like that,
yeah, the wind is not your friend sometimes when you're kayaking, but you learn to deal with it. You learn to adjust and you make it work because you got to get back. So, do you ever miss that part of it? Do you miss like that little bit of work that went into paddling and the different things?
Oh, absolutely. But the industry kind of got away from those slick boats, and
Hmm.
now we're kind of, on wide, stable platforms. So, um, I come from saltwater, I don't do a lot of lake or pond fishing, barely any river fishing. I'm just like salty as salt can be, man, So the
Yeah,
areas I fish are, heavy current all the time, and and you're just at the mercy of the wind and current. I still do have my CUDA 14, and I do take it out here and there, just to
yeah.
bring back some memories.
Hmm. Now, talking about salt, I mean, we've talked about photos a little bit. Let's get into the fishing part because I know that's what a lot of people probably they like hearing us talk about photos because they're learning in the different things. But let's get into the fishing just a little bit. You're like one of our I mean, really, you're kind of like the saltwater guy up in there. Rudy dabbles. Rudy kind of moves around and fishes fresh and fishes different
Sure.
things. But as far as the Northeast goes, man, you're kind of our saltwater guru out there. Stripers, different things. I mean, what all are you fishing for beyond stripers and all that? Kind of the lay of the land, if
This
you will.
time of year. Oh, sorry. What's that?
I said just kind of the lay of the land of what's up there.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. So I go for stripers. That's like my main fish. It's kind of a year-round fishery here. Fortunately, we can catch them from when the water's 70 degrees to when it's 32. That's right around when they cut off. But other than that, I mean, we got flounder fishing. Um, actually, white perch season's about to kick in here, and they're all coming in the spawn now, so we get the big ones. Um, Around about 2 to 3 months from now, we'll have the yellow-eyed demons, also known as the bluefish, and
Mhm.
those are some toothy critters, man. They're fun to catch. They're diesel fish, man. So looking forward to that, and then you can go actually right out into the Delaware Bay over here. Usually starts around April, May, and you can
Mhm.
hook yourself into a 100-pound black drum, which
Wow.
is that's pretty crazy. Fortunately, I've tried. Unfortunately, I've never landed one that size, but it's that's on the bucket list.
Mhm.
But we got all
What?
kinds of fish. Gray trout, speckled trout. It's
Mhm.
a lot of saltwater species here. And then I don't know if you all caught the when we all went fishing with Jameson Redding out
Yeah.
on the outer wall here. We got into them tog, and those are pretty cool fish. They kind of stay in that structure. Totally different kind of fishing. Them
Mhm.
along with the sheep's head and the triggerfish. So that'll be starting up in the late spring. So it's going to be a ton of species to target coming up. But for right now, yeah, winter. I fish all winter long, and it's striped bass, and also what they call here on the Eastern Shore, they call them rockfish.
Mhm. Now, Jameson didn't fare very well in that episode, best I remember. Was it him or was it just the day?
Uh it was a little of both. To be honest with you, yeah, it's tog fishing is a different style of fishing. So I'm going to say it was him because he never did it before, and it takes a little bit of finesse at learning it and understanding how they, you feel like a little tap 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 tap. That's when you got to like set that hook. But it's just something that it takes time to learn. And he caught two fish that day, and two nice ones. So yeah, he caught on. It just took him a while. And then with the rockfish, the first day, it was a little off. Like the water was still
Mhm.
freezing cold. The wind was ripping, and that's tough, especially when the water's that cold. Those fish are kind of lethargic still. So the
Mhm.
issue is your bait's moving too fast when that wind's pushing you. You just got to kind of just bounce that thing on the bottom real slow. But with the wind and the currents that day, it was tough fishing. You know, I mean, he did catch one towards the end of the day, but he lost it, and I still tell him that fish doesn't count.
Kind of like he's musky. Um, so
Exactly.
anybody that's looking for that episode of Road Trip Angler, we just dropped it in the comment section for you guys. So if you guys want to watch that one up in Delaware or any of the others that Jameson has been on his adventures fishing with the guys from the team like Matt Trucks, hit the link and it'll take you right to his YouTube space. Um, but yeah, that was a cool episode. That first season was fun to watch all you guys interacting and being on the episodes and the different things like that. I think it was fun. It was just fun to see the team really rallied around the show and all that. Um, striper fishing. I mean, always intrigued by striper fishing, and I don't know. I do kind of know where this came from. It came from an episode. I don't remember if you remember the show City Limits Fishing with Mike Iaconelli. He goes out into the Boston Harbor and he catches a giant striper.
Yeah.
Since then, it's kind of been like a little bit of an obsession. I have actually never landed one from my kayak. It drives me nuts. I actually took a trip and did a guided trip, which don't get me wrong, it was fun. The buddy that I was with, he likes fishing. He's not an avid angler. So like to do it live bait on the back of somebody else's boat while they're finding the fish for you was no big deal to him. I still feel incomplete, very, very incomplete about it because I didn't locate, cast, and catch it. I reeled it in. Uh, but yeah, man, have you ever thought about going up to Boston Harbor? Have you ever done any of that kind of stuff for striper fishing?
Oh, absolutely. We used to fish a tournament up on Winter Island. That's just up past Boston in Salem, Massachusetts. And in the middle of the summer, you're fishing up there, and the water is still 50 degrees, but you're catching monster stripers up there, and they're just there all summer because that's where they go in the summertime. They like that cool water temp, And yeah, I missed that tournament. I think it ended about, I want to say 6 years ago or 7 years ago. But those days were a blast, man. And just like the tournament we used to fish in Jamaica Bay, there was the Jamaica Bay Classic. That tournament went on for, I want to say it had to be 15 years. I think then it ended.
Mm.
But and that one was typically in March or April. No, sorry, it was in May. That's right. It was always the weekend after Mother's Day weekend. And that's where all those fish gathered after they spawned before they went up to Boston, Massachusetts. So we'd catch them trophy fish right there, right by JFK Airport in New York.
Be awesome, dude. That'd be very cool. But no, it's of course, Charlie, our customer service guy who's been on a couple episodes, we're stuck with the landlocked ones. Now Charlie's kind of got it figured out where he catches some pretty good ones. We like to share swim bait pictures back and forth, glide baits and different things. But it's no comparison. I mean, those fish though, I think when they get big, man, they dig. I would like to feel the difference between like one that's in these rivers down here in the Tennessee River, Kentucky area versus the big ones out in the salt, man. I can't imagine.
Yeah, those big ones in the salt, they don't give up, man. They just keep on digging and digging, it's like you'll get them almost up and then they'll just start ripping line again and you'll be back to square one. It's so much fun.
I can imagine, dude. Like big striper in a kayak. I mean, what's that look like as far as like gear and what you use to wrangle in these beasts? I mean, because that's no small feat in a kayak, number one.
Well, it varies to where you fish. Up north, they like the tube. It's a 12 to 24-inch tube. Some of them got spinners on the front of them, and then what you do is you put a what they call a sandworm on the end, and that gives you the scent. You could even use a piece of like gulp, any kind of scented bait, and then you just troll those around. And then you fish in places like New York and New Jersey. Those fish, they really like the wood plugs in the spring, like the handmade, like really nice wood plugs. But you could always get away with just like a 6 to 9-inch Z-Man swim bait, just the mullet style with an ounce to an ounce and a half jig out in that deep water and catch the fish right on that too. So it does vary, but it really depends on kind of where you're fishing. The baits that they like, and then come fall, it's kind of weird because it all switches to like metals, like big spoons, and because basically those fish they feed on the menhaden, and the menhaden they make that flash, and that's what the fish go after. So in the fall, that's what they're attracted to.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fascinating. I would love to come out and take a stab at it with you and Rudy one of these days. I think that would be like killer.
Well, here, I mean, we can catch them on a 3/8-inch jig head with a 3-inch Z-Man, just the plastic swim baits. And you catch some big ones on that. So
now, as far as like we see a lot of the West Coast saltwater kayak fishing community, we see a lot of the Gulf Texas boys, some of the Florida guys in the kayaks and the different things. Talk to us a little bit about what's that East Coast kayak vibe like? I mean, how big is that community, and like, what do you see from it?
I got to tell you, I remember back in 2009, 2008, when I was the only guy on a kayak out on the water, and I'm going to say it's exploded. It's become a pretty tight knit community. That there's always that camaraderie. When we used to have a lot of tournaments and that sort of thing. Granted, the tournaments aren't as much, but it's still, the guys are still getting together to go fishing together.
Mhm.
And it's just more enjoyable when you're fishing with other people and just having that fun together, finding the fish, calling them over when they're there. But I got to tell you, kayak fishing has insanely exploded since I'd say 2010 till now, and everybody can see that. It's
Mhm.
unreal, and we put a lot of time into making that happen, and it's just awesome how expanded it's become.
That is awesome and good to hear. I mean, because like I said, I mean, you're kind of our eyes and the ears on the East, and it's good to see that it's exploding in every facet. I think that even if it's freshwater, saltwater, inshore, I mean, it's exploded in its entirety. Um, no, and I don't think it's going back anytime soon, especially the way these boat prices are going. It's going to be heck of a lot easier to come into Delaware and sling a couple $1,000 over $90,000 that some of these big boats are costing now.
Oh yeah, but the other thing is, I mean, gas prices are high, and I
Hmm.
know when I'm at the shop helping them out with installs and that sort of thing. Sometimes I'll help out customers, and they'll be like, "Yeah, I just sold my boat because the maintenance and the gas was just getting too high." And I've seen you guys on YouTube doing this kayak fishing thing, and I'm really into it. And
Hmm.
that's why it's so great for when people come into Delaware Paddlesports because we have that knowledgeable staff there, and it's to bring them in and find out their needs and what they want to fish for, whether they want to paddle, pedal, motorize.
Hmm.
It's just quite an experience, and I don't see it not growing even with the price of the plastic these days. I mean, I'm sure some people are a little more hesitant where when they're first getting into the sport, they're going to go with like a less well-made kayak just to save some money, just to see if they like it. And I tell people, I'm like, just come down to the shop and paddle the boats we have first before you kind of make that commitment on the cheaper one. And then you're 6 months down the line and they're like, you're really into it. Now you got to, go out and buy a whole new
Yeah.
one. So,
Well, and I think that's guilty of us all as fishermen. I think anglers, um, we'll buy that start, I think, and buy that cheap rod, and then it's kind of like, well, okay, caught a fish. I could have something that's stronger, have something that's better, and we tend to rabbit hole,
right.
go down rabbit holes with different things, and I don't know. I can remember, gosh, I feel like I've been through like thousands of rods at this point, just buying different stuff to try, and I don't think it ever ends. Tanner
No,
says,
fishing
"Buy
is
once,
just one of
try
those
once.
things
Buy
you
once,
just
try
can't
once."
stop buying stuff.
No, no, I sent Donald Corbett was on our last episode of Doc Talk. We had him as an individual guest, like we're having you tonight. But obviously, he owned that 412 bait company back in the day. Well, that sparked me down memory lane, and it seems like you know I can't quit buying tech. Did I need anything? No, but I spent like $120 and had a huge bag of tackle delivered. I mean, it just never ends. I just like buying tackle.
Oh, sure, yeah. I used to use those just for catching stripers, man. They were great actually, until the bluefish come around, and they're just chomped.
Chomped up, yeah.
Yep.
But no, that's awesome. So kind of marrying two things and seeing what you do. I gotta ask, what is one of the best, most memorable trips that you have been on? I mean, you like I said, you used to film early in the days with JK and some of that. What are some of the best trips that you remember? From back in the well, I'm not going to call it the heyday, but back in the day when everything's first started really rolling.
Believe it or not, I'd say when I was up in New Jersey and we started Heroes on the Water up there, and
Hmm.
that really meant a lot to me because here were these veterans, and they're all uh, they work pretty much directly with the VA, and here's these guys and ladies that served our country, and we got to take them fishing, and we got to you know bring them a great day with kayaks and fishing rods, like
Mm.
they probably would have never expected something like this to be a thing, and just to see that grow and it repeat, like the same veterans would love to come back to all of our events, and that really meant a lot to me. Putting that extra time and effort in on bringing the community together to help people that serve for us. It was really, in my experience, I think feeling that grow and become from, I think our first event we had maybe 8 or 9 veterans, and we had about 10 volunteers, and then seeing that grow over 10 years to where we'd have events with almost 200 people in one event. That was pretty amazing to me. Absolutely.
It's awesome. Now I got to ask this question. Favorite photo that you have taken so far?
From the
Do you
kayak
have
or
one?
just?
Just in general, do you have one that's like it's just yours and like you love it, no matter
Yeah.
how many
So
times you look at it?
so two I was 2 years ago. 2 years ago. So over here in Delaware, we have it's an old fort that was built for World War II for defending the bay from German U-boats, and they built these tall concrete structures, and they're called fire spotting towers. So it's just like a tall
Mhm.
structure with like a little slit where they peer out, and they would basically triangulate to where the artillery would fire if they spotted an enemy craft out there. And there's this particular one, actually in the state park over here, where you can actually visit it and you can walk up the stairs. So the nice thing about it, because of uh, egress code, they have lights inside of it that are on all the time. So I noticed this, I don't know, I guess like 6 years ago, something like that. I was just kind of happened to be driving by there at night, and I was just like, wow, those lights kind of like look kind of cool in the fog.
Mhm.
So I just planned this out. Took this shot. It had to be at 6 different occasions, and finally, it's 2 years ago. I had the perfect conditions with the perfect amount of fog to where the
Mhm.
lights just shot through the from the out the little slits and little windows right out of the tower and lit up the air basically as like
Nah.
kind of like light rays popping out all over the place. That's one of my favorites right there. It won an award. It was on the cover of Delaware Beach Life magazine here locally, and it also won second place for Delaware Press Association. So, but that photo for me to plan out and take the time to actually capture it the way that I felt it should have been captured. That's why it's my favorite. Absolutely.
Yeah. There is something like when you find that one thing. Mine was the moon for a long time. I've got my shot of the moon that I keep, and it's mine. Like I haven't shared it anything. But when you find that one thing that's like, I don't know, man, it drives you, and it's like you will try it multiple times, wouldn't you? I mean, I don't know. There's just something about it. It's crazy what it does to you. It's like trying to catch a bigger fish.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. Yeah, just to get that. For me, it's like it's a vision I have. Like,
Hmm.
I don't know if it's a dream I have. Then it comes to me later when I see it. I'm like, oh, that's the spot. I gotta get
Mhm.
that perfectly and pristine and get the scene like the way that I thought of it. And sometimes it's impossible. It really is.
Yeah, sometimes it's impossible to because you can see what you want. You can see that in your mind, but it doesn't always come out like it looks in your mind. But when it does, like what you're talking about, it's crazy.
Yeah, some of the best shots are the ones that you think about in your mind and you just try to set it up the way that you feel it should look. Absolutely.
Yeah. There's something about it. It's amazing. I compare it to like when you come back from a day of fishing and you've been fishing, but you also took your camera and you look through it and you find two or three images that are just, I'm going to call them bangers, or just that one image. You generally just have one that you're just like obsessed with. That's as good as catching the biggest fish swimming that day.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. Yep. I mean, that's what it's all about when you have the camera in hand and, you know, and you can see it, you're there, and you just
Hmm.
want to capture it the exact way that you're seeing it. So, you can share that point in time, with the composition that you put together and have people understand, like, feel it, smell it, taste it,
Hmm.
just to convert that from a still image it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. And like we wear a lot of amber sunglasses as anglers and different things. And a lot of times when you're out there, that amber light, the way it hits your glasses and the way you'll look out over the water or the different things, sometimes it's hard. Like when you take the photo and you look at the photo, you're like, dang it, that don't look like what I seen. But if you add a
Yeah.
little bit of that warmth and that amber glow to your photo, then all of a sudden it looks like what you've seen through your eyes. And that's a big thing.
Yeah, it just makes everything pop.
Oh yeah. I remember one of the photos that I've got hanging up on my wall, that I love a lot was actually when we were getting all the smoke haze in Indiana from Colorado, and it was just blowing in, and the sun, like we had these ominous storm clouds where a storm had just passed, but the sun was popping up over them, and it was just completely, it had a lot of warmth to it. It was just this hazy round circle that just didn't have a lot of light, but it was prominent and it was there. But over in the foreground was this dude that like kind of took me under his wing when I started like bass fishing and fishing boat tournaments and all that kind of thing. And his boat and him are just out there fishing this offshore point. And he's really small, and a lot of people they would never know it was him, but I know it was him. And to me, that is like, that's one of my banger photos that still hangs on my wall to this
Nice.
day. Do I like to ask this to a lot of photographers because some do and some don't. Do you print your photos and hang them up?
I have no wall space left in my house. If that answers your question. Yeah, absolutely. Especially, the ones that mean a lot to me. Yeah, it's important that, I like to come home and see these photos and give myself inspiration, from past events. Just
Mhm.
those things that, I saw it, I shot it, and there it is, and it's pretty amazing. It's and most of the shots that I actually have printed weren't even planned shots. It's just those kind of shots where it's like right time, right place. It's just pretty amazing that way. Absolutely.
What brand of camera do you use? So I'll let you back that one up. We got that question again from the audience. So I'll let you
Oh
tell
yeah,
them
sure.
again real
I,
quick.
I shoot with a Canon R5. It's a pretty top of the line mirrorless camera from Canon, and then I shoot my landscapes with a Canon. I'll show you here. It's the Canon 15 to 35 L 2.8 lens. It's an excellent lens for landscape photography.
Sure. Tanner says those hazy days were wild. Yeah, they were. That was a wild summer, uh, for sure. But it made some awesome photos, regardless of where you were at the moment. That just had a cool background. But no, that's dude. I love hearing that you hang up your photo because there's a lot of folks that don't. My buddy Zach that does the Orion podcast with me. He actually, I mean, aside from his kids, he very rarely prints out some of his stuff that he's got. He's got some amazing mountain shots from elk hunting out in Colorado and
Oh
different
wow.
places like that. Man, it sucks when it's very gratifying when you can come home like you're saying and see them. Like when I walk into this office, I've kind of got a row that sits in front of me where I can just sit out here at my desk and look at them. And I remember those times and I remember the places where I was. Like I've got one photo where I was hanging off over the side of a bridge taking a picture of a guy in a Rockstar 5. I colored the boat, like pugged with the colors, actually shifted the color of the boat from blue to gray. I got in
Oh
so
wow.
much trouble over that. They made me take it down when I posted it on social media because it looked like a prototype boat.
Right.
Um, but I got enough trouble over that boat that I actually went and had a canvas made and hung it on my wall. Um,
Nice.
but it's amazing. I mean, like you said, I mean, just to feel. to feel those photos again every time you see them and know where you were, and it really brings back the memories.
Absolutely. Yep. That's what it's all about. It's keeping those memories.
Yep. So as we kind of close out here, I want to kind of let you tell and talk about some of the awards that you've won. And also, I'd like for you to tell kind of folks where to find you on social media if they want to take in your photography, take in some of your fishing knowledge, and maybe just keep up with Delaware Paddle Sports. Just kind of tell them where to connect with you at.
Sure. Yeah. So I've won a lot of local awards, nothing national or anything like that, but I started competing in 2019. And that's all because my dear mom was like, "You take amazing photos. You should compete in these photo contests." And she showed me them in the newspaper. You know. And
Yeah.
since then, I've placed in every contest locally since 2019, which is pretty amazing. So I've actually
That's
won
awesome.
27 awards, I believe it is. That would be the first, second, and third places, all different categories, ranging from landscape to black and white to um, down to like wildlife type of photos, like natural stuff like flowers and flora, fauna, to insects to mushrooms. Just like
Hmm.
all the cool stuff. And then I believe I've had 8 honorable mentions throughout those years too. So it's pretty much an honor to place in these contests because they are judged by professional photographers. I'm just blown away by it, to be honest with you. Yeah, it's become a passion to me to and what the hardest part about the photo contest is actually picking the photos to enter into the contest. Believe it or not,
Yeah, I could see
and
that.
so yeah, it's been awesome. For throughout the past 5 years of competing, and I'd like to get on that national level eventually. But I think I have a lot to learn still. Believe it or not, it's just I'm not a professional, so it's just it's just a killer hobby. It's an expensive hobby, just like fishing.
Oh yeah,
So,
just as
but
bad.
it's completely enjoyable, just like fishing. So it's the balance of both. Just enjoying that and being there.
Yeah. Now, give everybody kind of the where they can find you on social media and how to connect.
Sure. So, if you don't know my website, unfortunately, I haven't updated it in a few years, and that's the plastichull.net. My photography website, I'm looking at changing the name. Unfortunately, I kind of built this website to maybe bring on other photographers, and I just want something more personal. But for now, that is seascapeexposures.com. That's SEE instead of SEA. Scapeexposures.com. And then you can also find me on Instagram, and that would be under Trucks Compositions. That would be my photography account. And then I also have the Plastic Hull for the kayak fishing side of things on Instagram. And it's actually the same for Facebook, although I don't use Facebook as much these days. I just honestly find a lot of negativity there. So I kind of stay away from the Facebook side of things.
I hear you. I hear you. Instagram's kind of nice too, especially if you're a photographer person. It's just kind of been that space for so long right now.
It's
It's
more
kind of
geared for that.
changing,
Yeah.
unfortunately. It's kind of changing, unfortunately, but there are places.
Right.
Have you ventured over to Vero yet?
I have not. I've been thinking about it.
Here,
Yes.
yeah, there's a lot of good photographers over there. It has its spurts. Like it'll come and it'll kind of hit hard, and then it kind of tapers back down. Then it hits hard, and then it tapers back down. So this is one of those kind of odd apps. Really reminds me of MySpace. Like you can put down like your favorite songs and all that stuff, like the old day. Like Tom used to bring it back in the day. But yeah, man. So we've made it to an hour. And
Cool.
I appreciate your time. I appreciate the knowledge. It always sucks trying to cram like all the knowledge and all the different things into like an hour time slot. You never feel like it's enough because there's always more that you can elaborate on, especially when you talk about like two different hobbies that come together, like cameras and fishing and all that different stuff. But I think if we could, either one of us could encourage anybody, it is, if the fishing sucks, pick up a camera.
That's it. Yeah. And also, if anybody has any questions, just reach out to me. I'm always around, to be able to answer any kind of questions you may have. Very knowledgeable on the kayak fishing side. As you all know, I've been at it since 2008. I've been on the Jackson team since 2011 or early 2012, something like that. It's been a long run. So, and plus, throughout the years, I've worked at Delaware Paddlesports. I know, the whole genre of brands and everything else. I've rigged tons of kayaks over the years. Any questions on that side, any questions on the photography side, I'd be happy to answer it. Absolutely.
Yeah, hit him up, plastichole.net. Find him up on the socials, and head on over to Delaware Paddle Sports. Buy something, cruise through, order something, and get it shipped to your house. They'll deliver. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Matt, thank you for being a great guest, and hope
Thanks for the
you will
invite.
come back and do it again here in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we can get more elaborative next time. If
Yeah,
people send me their questions, maybe we fill it in,
yeah, and we can bring Rudy on and haze him too. It'll be a great time.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening to us tonight. We hope you found value in another episode of Doc Talk. We will see you guys back next week. We are back on schedule next week. We will be back on the 7th with a brand new episode. Just to give you a preface, this guys, it's going to be ladies' night here at Jackson Kayak Doc Talk. So tune in, listen to the ladies of Jackson Kayak, and yeah, we'll see you guys on the next one. Bye bye. JacksonKayak.com. Go there now. Yeah.